Hi everybody, welcome to Jenkins Boat Works. I am Chuck Jenkins. In this video we continue working on our Yukon racing kayak. I believe this is probably episode 5 or 6. In the last episode we completed the hull and installed the whiskey strip, and this time we're going to flip the boat over and get to work on the deck. And so there's a shear line that we have to establish on the deck, and I'm going to take some measurements and kind of try to figure out where the cockpit's supposed to go, so I have an idea what kind of strips and how long I'm going to need, and just kind of do some figuring to see how's going to be the best way to get the strips put on the top part of the boat. So it's always pretty exciting when you get to a point in a boat build and you flip the boat over, and so we're real happy with the progress that we're making so far, and we're glad you're here. So excuse me, if you happen to be new to the channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing, and if you subscribe, click the little bell so you get updates about notifications for future videos as they come out. Most of you, if you've been following this at all, know that we are building this boat, are commissioned and getting paid to build this boat for a friend of mine who's going to use this in the MR 340. That's a Missouri River race from Kansas City to St. Charles, 340 miles. So we're trying to get this boat put together quickly, as he wants to, be able to get in the water and train and work out the bugs and do all the little things that are necessary to get ready for such a arduous adventure. So we're hoping to get this boat done somewhere close to April 1st. So we are very rapidly getting to a point where we've only got a month left. So we're really humping, and I know we've had a lot of video come out fast. There is a playlist. We'll try to link that at the end of the video. If you've missed an episode and want to catch up, or you're just joining us, we'll link that video at the end and in the video description. So, all right, we're going to jump in and I'll show you what kind of work we're getting done today. It's always a special day when you get to flip your boat over. It's lift and flip day. I haven't done one of these kayaks where we got to do the other side and it stays on its molds. I've got my trusty old sawhorses set up with some slings. I think I'm just going to try to lift one end at a time and get them in the sling, and then we can maybe roll it once we get it in there. I'm not sure how stable that's going to be. I think my sawhorses should just fit over the strong back. Well, if it doesn't work out right, you're going to be the first to know. So far, so good. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, you can see the inside of here too. Man, we got a good job. Look how, man, it's like smooth in there. Not a lot of glue. There's a little glue right there. Wow, look at that. I was standing there thinking, I'm like, how do these frames come out of here? Obviously, you got to take the staples off, but we're not doing that until we get the rest of this done. The only other thing is I kind of got a little, you know what, I may trim that off of there so that this thing can come out. I mean, I could probably slide it off of the mold here, and that's not attached to that. Man, that's cool. Super, super cool. Wow. I think stripping the deck's going to go faster than the hull did. Man, she's got some nice shape. Look at that back there, how she flares as it goes back to the stern. Oh, I like that. That's nice. And she comes up here. She's got a real fine entry. Real fine entry. Man, this thing's going to be a rocket ship. All right, so we're going to start working on the deck. And so this is our shear line here, and this is glue, or it's not glued to the frame, but it's glued to this next strip. And when we put this one on here, we're not going to glue it on there because at a point we're going to have to take this off. So this strip's going to get stapled in here, similar to how this one did originally. Now, this gets tricky because in order for these to mate upright, our new strip coming down on here needs to be able to mate up with that shear strip from the hull. And you can see there, it's going to require quite a bit of an angle to match up correctly. So I think we're going to take the robo bevel and see if we can get that inside edge off of there. We're also going to bevel this strip because I don't think I can get enough off of that to get it to sit nicely. Up here, where it's fairly vertical, we're not going to have to do hardly anything. You know, that sits down, that's almost good without doing hardly anything. But amidship here, it's quite an angle. And it really doesn't get all that much better back here. It's still pretty tough. You know, if I do a boat like this again, I believe that I will make sure, now that one's kind of sticking out, you know, to where I've got some I can trim off. Some of these are just like right on the mark, like that one. I just don't have a whole lot there that I'm going to be able to take off. So some of this may be that we can't get it perfect, and then later on when we're actually attaching the hull and the deck together, we'll use fiberglass cloth inside and out to attach it. And we may just have to go in there with some filler, like Total Boats Total Fair is first thing that comes to mind. So or some kind of thickened epoxy. So it's going to be a little tricky. Like that one there is just sitting right down below that, but then that one's to where I can get to it. So we'll take the robo bevel on here and see if we can kind of bevel that in at an angle to where this inside edge is considerably lower than the outside. I just don't think I'm going to be able to get that much off of it. So that's going to be a bit of a trick. Now I did make new 1/2-inch strips because I didn't have any that were over 18 feet. I had some 16-foot ones, but this is a pretty long run. We got to have a little better than 18 feet to go all the way front to back. And we're not going to have to do that for very long. We got to get up to here, and then I believe that's going to be about as much as we're going to be able to do for the full length of the boat. We're going to get to a point where we got to do the back half, and it'll stop right about here, and do the front half, because see how much taller these molds are here? There's no way to bend that strip down to where you can't make that trip. And the reason it's like that is because this is where the cockpit goes. So we're going to be cutting a big hole in here for the cockpit eventually, so we don't have to really completely strip all that, but we do need to get on these edges. So, you know, even that one's maybe 2 inches, maybe 2.5. So it's not going to take very much of this to get up there to get these edges done. Heck, by the time we get up to this edge, we're going to be completely around the transom back here because there's just not that much here. So we'll quickly get to a point where we don't have to have these 19-foot strips. So I've taken my rabbit plane and gone along these edges and tried to stay at the same angle as the frame. So if the frame's going like this, I'm trying to hold it just like that to come in there with that rabbit plane and plane off the inside edge of this. And that's worked pretty good. But even with the rabbit, and by the way, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. I love this plane. Then I'm taking my X-Acto knife and coming in here, like in the edges there, because it's just too close. And I'm just trimming off that little bit to try to get to where, you know, we got a kind of a good surface there. And I may take some sandpaper to it too. But I'm doing a bit of a test fit right now. And then I've taken my, just my regular block plane and come in on the underside of this strip and kind of trimmed off that inside edge of that. Now I got to sand down where my scarf is. I've got some really nice scarves this time. And at that bevel, so that's pretty good. Now what I notice is, now see, I'm able to get that to sit down on there, and we got a little gap in there, but not bad. For the most part, we're laying pretty fair down on there. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but like I could take off a little bit more right there. Right there. It's just kind of fitting. You just kind of got a monkey with it. Now the other thing about this is that this got such a severe bend and twist to it that I'm having to use this 1/2 inch strip. It's a 1/4 inch thick, but it's a 1/2 inch this way. I had some 3/4 and it just not for this shear line. Maybe once we get up in here a little bit, but for here, just had to go 1/2 inch. So we're getting really close to being able to staple this right there, man. I gotta fix that. So I may just kind of take a sanding pad to that. And again, I'm holding this at an angle that matches 90 degrees to this, like that. So when I set that down on there, we can trim off the underside of this a little better too. That's pretty flat. It's hard to get any pressure on it. There we go. I'm really putting an angle on it. We're getting close. I've probably been working on this for a 1/2 hour, 45 minutes on both sides. See, I'm not happy with that. That's better. That's much better. Much better. On the transom, I actually have some tape on here so that I don't accidentally glue anything to it. I like it. This is going to be easier than the hull was. It's just this first strip that we got to pay a lot of attention to. Hi, Toby. A couple things we got to worry about. We're not gluing to the stem, and we're not gluing to the transom, because we're going to want to be able to pull the deck off apart, because we'll have to get these molds out of here. But I feel real good about how our shear strip's laying down for the deck. Pretty good back here at the transom. Same deal. We're not gluing onto here. So yeah, that looks good. I think our next thing is going to be to run a couple of strips in the middle. I'm debating on running 2 or running 1. There's really not much of a crown to this in the middle. I think it's not, it's not sharp and pointy. I think we may be able to run 1 down there. And I kind of like that idea up here at the bow, because it gets so narrow here that I don't know. I think we're just going to put 1 up here and just lay it right on top of the stem. Is it coming along? Okay, so here's the next thing that's got me puzzled or wondering what I'm supposed to do. We pretty clearly have to deck all the front of this. The cockpit goes in here. This frame is definitely not as tall as this, and it's about half as tall more than this. So when I go run a strip on here, especially in the middle of this, we're not going to be able to make this bend. That's just not going to happen. So, and it doesn't have to, because this is going to be cut out for the cockpit. So my question is how far up here do I have to run the strips from the back forward and from the front back? Now, I think that these side pieces, these angled pieces, I believe that's, the cockpit's going to kind of come around there, and so you got to have these pieces, and we should be able to run those all the way up there. But clearly, when I'm to here, I can't run any more down to here. So what I want to do is get a better idea of where the cockpit goes. So there is a full-size form, or part of the plan, that tells you that right here. So it tells you how big your hole is you're supposed to cut out for the cockpit. The other thing that's nice about it is it tells you where it goes with regard to the form. So this is number at 130 inches, 120, 110, all the way up here to 80. Well, this is form 80 up here. So I can lay that on there and know that that's as far up as it goes. And then it shows the center line. And I have and here's form 130, which is right here. So we know we're right. And then this is the center line, so all I got to do is line that up and line the center line up with this one up here. Right there we have it. So now this is where our cockpit's going to get cut out of. So now I know I don't have to run any strip up the middle past here, past form 120. In fact, I don't know that I need to even run them past that. We'll probably run them a little bit long. Same deal with this up here. I do have to come back to at least here, but this part here is sloped down, as is this part under here, here, and here. So that tells me I don't have to fill in any of this up here. I think I'm going to make a couple of marks on here, just on the forms, to kind of give me a rough idea where this is going to get cut out of. Because that's going to help me too with how many pieces I don't need to scarf. So in other words, that may be an 8-foot run there, and I have 8-foot strips without doing any scarfing. Same thing going back to the back. So that could work out really nicely. We'll just have to see. But I do believe I'll get a pencil and just make a few little marks on the forms so I got an idea where where we have to have strips and where obviously in here it makes no sense. You wouldn't even do that. So, and that helps me greatly with the fact of that one form being so wildly different from here to here. It's just, you don't put any strip in there. So that's good. Okay, as I suspected, this could work out really nice. So I made a mark right here where the back of the cockpit is. So I'm gonna go I know you can't see it, but I'm just going up a frame just in front of it, which is about 4 inches. So I know I would have plenty of strip up there. And if I pull this tape all the way back to the transom, it's 7'10". So an 8-foot strip will work on all this whole back part of this. So going forward, same deal. At the very longest, we marked on here that the front of the cockpit will be about here. Well, here's 8 foot right here. So 8-foot strips are gonna do me great. All I gotta do is finish out the side parts here, and those is obviously gonna take longer strips. This one on the shear, this one here is about, I think I had to have a little over 19 feet. So, boy, that's good news. That's gonna make this a lot easier because I don't have a ton of strips scarfed up to 18 and 19, 20 feet. So, yeah, that's fantastic. At some point I had made a lovely scarf here, and we have a 16-foot strip. Now I'm going to cut that off. Okay. Now, I know that my cockpit's supposed to come back to about here, so I think I'm just going to cut it off at 8 feet, and then I'll have 8 feet for the front, and we'll know that we're long enough here, especially in the middle. Now, the other thing that I've done is we still have on our forms here our center lines, and on most of these I can see them because I didn't tape over them. So I extended that center line and drew it up on top of the tape up here. This strip is 3/4 inches wide, so I want to make sure I'm right in the middle there. So I went 3/8 of an inch on either side and I made little marks on the tape about every second frame. So that tells me then if I go right there, I should be right in the middle. And I can do that all the way back and make sure that I've got this center strip right where we need it. Right in the middle. And I should be here about 5 inches or so further forward than where the combing or the cockpit's going to be. Now we do the same thing up front. Past here, and my mark on this frame shows that the cockpit should kind of come up to here, so I got more than enough coming back here. And you should be able to see now on these forms, like there's a center line, here's a center line. So I just extended that up on top of my tape up here, and then I put 3/8 on the other side. So I've got a width of 3/4 inch, which is the width of this strip. So I've done that in enough places where I've got enough reference lines, I should be able to staple that down and it'll be right in the middle and I got it straight. So here's the bow. I'm probably going to be trimming that off even with the bevel on the, it's all taped up so I don't glue nothing to it, but this is still the inner stem right in here. So I want to be right in the middle of that dude. And there we are. Cool. If you like the video, remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.